Coelophysis is without a doubt the most iconic dinosaur of the Triassic period. Just like how many Hollywood icons have left their handprints behind in concrete at the famous Chinese theatre, many fossilised footprints known as grelata have been attributed to Coelophysis. It must have been quite a celebrity back in the day. Dilophosaurus is such a gorgeous creature. With its magnificent double crest and that noticeable notch in its jaw, it's one of the most recognisable predators to ever live. I'll never understand the guests who think it isn't cool enough as it is. Fancy frills and baubles would only take away from such a beautiful but deadly creature. Ah yes, the Torvosaurus, an apex predator of the Jurassic. Its sleek profile made it a formidable foe for even the biggest of prey items. If you want my advice, it's best observed from a safe distance. Acrocanthosaurus, the high-spined lizard. An apex predator, and a good one at that. The tall neural spines running down its back are what create that beautiful scenic silhouette, although their function remains a bit of a mystery to us. I'd love to go to get a closer look at this particular specimen, but I think I'll stay this side of the fence. There it is, the one and only king of the tyrant lizards. Tyrannosaurus is as big as the movies, and yet somehow even scarier. While your favourite dinosaur movie might have depicted the T-Rex with rather poor vision, brain scans have revealed that its vision rivalled that of modern birds of prey, which means that it's watching you just as much as you're watching it. Eerie stuff. Now this is an interesting fellow. This dinosaur is called Deinocheirus, a name meaning horrible hand. Its hands aren't actually horrible, mind you. Calling dinosaurs things like terrible or horrible is a trend that goes all the way back to Sir Richard Owen, who first coined the term dinosaur, which of course means terrible lizard. There it is, Carmarosaurus, the star of the Morrison Formation. Don't let its peculiar mouth scare you. The long chisel-like teeth may look like a carnivore's, but they are actually much better adapted to rip coarse leaves from tree branches. Although, to be fair, we haven't really put the theory to the test. You can't get a much more classic dinosaur than Brachiosaurus. Brachiosaurus is a sauropod, a type of herbivorous dinosaur with a tiny head at the end of a long neck. The largest animals to ever walk on land were sauropods, but not all of them were so gargantuan. For instance, Europasaurus grew just over 6 meters long, which, to be fair, is still very large. Now, I've seen skeletons of Argentinasaurus before, but nothing can prepare you for the sheer immensity of this dinosaur in the flesh. These titanic sauropods, fittingly called titanosaurs, grow rapidly. Once they reach a certain size, they're virtually untouchable and have nothing to fear from puny apex predators. Hungry guests, though, let's hope we don't find out. It's always a pleasure to run into a fellow Brit so far away from home. Meet Solidosaurus, an early armoured dinosaur from England and Ireland. Remarkably, paleontologists have found specimens of every bone in the skeleton of Solidosaurus. An impressive feat, considering that many dinosaurs are only known from partial or even fragmentary skeletons. A Dryosaurus. Only juvenile specimens of these dinosaurs have been found in the fossil record, so I'm eager to see how much larger this one will get. Iguanodon, one of the first dinosaurs to be formally named. This creature's restorations weren't always perfect though. See those thumb spikes? They were once thought to be nasal horns, sort of like an iguana's. Very wrong, of course, but A+ for name inspiration. Now that, my friend, is a beautiful dinosaur. Almost like a musical instrument, Parasaurolophus used their crest for long-distance communication. The crests are made out of bone riddled with hollow tubes, which help amplify that beautiful singing voice of theirs. You're listening to the first orchestra on Earth. Found all over Western North America, Edmontosaurus is the textbook definition of a hadrosaur. Hadrosaurs are commonly referred to as duck-billed dinosaurs. But don't let that catchy moniker fool you. These dinosaurs lived on land, not in water. Lambeosaurus, a crested hadrosaur from the late Cretaceous. Like others of its kind, it uses its unique hatchet-shaped crest as a sort of resonating chamber. Though not essential, it's also great at giving a thumbs up. Now this little fella is a Psittacosaurus. Thanks to a number of recent findings, we were able to restore this creature to a high degree of genetic accuracy, right down to the quills and coloration in some of its species. Protoceratops. This animal is one of the smaller species of ceratopsians, living alongside deadly neighbours like the velociraptor. Thankfully, this little critter is surprisingly speedy. Compared to its larger cousins, the foot structure and limb proportions of Protoceratops are much better adapted to running. I guess that's important if you're trying to avoid speedy thieves like Velociraptor. Wow, look at the horns on that one. This must be Nasutoceratops, a ceratopsian best identified by its large cow-like features. That huge head can grow 1.5 meters long from tip to tip. That's 1/3 of its body length. With a head like that, we must be looking at Styracosaurus. The fossil record shows a bone bed of what was assumed to be a herd of these animals. But from what I've found, they're far more antisocial than expected. Perhaps a result of modern climatic conditions or irregularities in the genome. I'll leave that up for you to decide. Ah, a Pachyrhinosaurus. My, that head looks heavy. Thankfully, the frill extending off the back of its head is hiding a secret. There are 2 large holes punched straight through the bone to relieve the weight of all those adornments. The holes aren't visible during life. As you can see, they're beneath all that skin and keratin. Triceratops, one of the most recognisable and largest dinosaurs of its kind. Several fossilised Triceratops have been given nicknames, like Lane, Hatcher or Homer. Personally, I prefer names starting with T. Paraceratherium may look totally alien at first, but look again. You'll notice the resemblance to its modern relative, the rhinoceros. Although it lacks the large horns of keratin we expect from rhinos, the face of Paraceratherium still shares many features with them. Particularly noteworthy is that triangular upper lip, a prehensile structure that helps them manipulate their food. This is an Archaeopteryx. Its fossil was one of the most important scientific discoveries ever made. Not only was it the first feathered dinosaur found, but we now know its colours were mostly black and white, much like a magpie. This handsome little fella is one of my personal favourites, the Microraptor. I've always wanted to hand feed one, but I don't want to chance one of these feisty creatures mistaking my finger for a tasty lizard. Actually, I just need my old falconry gloves. At last, the woolly mammoth, ruler of the Ice Age, then ruler of none. There's nothing quite like it on the planet today. Just like their closest elephant cousins, mammoths are highly social, forming large family groups led by matriarchs. So that means we need to make sure we give them enough company. I would hate to see them feel lonely. The woolly rhino, or Coelodonta, is a relative to the modern-day Sumatran rhino. Much like its contemporary, the woolly mammoth, this rhino inhabited what is now called the Mammoth Steppe, a vast cold grassland that extended from Western Europe to the most remote corners of Siberia. By bringing this animal back to life, we honour that wonderfully diverse ecosystem, now lost to the ages. Oh boy, that's a big kitty, more commonly known as the saber-toothed tiger. Smilodon makes for a formidable predator. Many of its fossils have been excavated in tar pits, with the most prolific site being La Brea in Los Angeles, California. More than a staggering 166,000 specimens of Smilodon have been found in these sediments alone. What may have been terrible death traps in the past make for great opportunities in the present as we bring this carnivore back to life.